So they looked to the corner and said, those individuals that are gaming and we don't really talk to them much. I think we need to hire them.
Welcome to the show. Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power. Welcome to Your Ultimate Life, the podcast created to help you build, live, love a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. Grateful today to have a special guest with me, Charley Johnson. Charley, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
You are welcome. I'm grateful. We had just a few minutes to chat beforehand, and I love the term Chief Consciousness Officer that you used, which is the thrust of what you're doing right now. Tell me what that is and why, as you did a little ahead of time, why is that such a big deal or needs to be a big deal if we haven't yet had sense enough to realize that it is a big deal?
So the simplest way to put it is 30, 40 years ago when technology took over, we knew everyone was going online. We knew we needed to make a website. We knew we needed to code, but no one in the company knew how to do that. So they looked to the corner and said, those individuals that are gaming and we don't really talk to them much. I think we need to hire them, right? We started hiring CTOs. Now the CTO is a part of every single company, small, medium, or large. They're probably the first or second person hired in every company starting. So consciousness is everything. More and more people are starting to understand directly that consciousness is fundamental to our experience and to our reality. As this happens and more people become aware, they're going to want someone on staff who understands this very clearly and at a very high level. Because everything a company does, their strategy, their marketing, their advertising, their sales, their finances, everything is in consciousness. Everything. All their employees are consciousness, physical and non-physical. And my question to that is, for the last 20 years, we've had wellness programs. We've crammed meditation and yoga and other things down the throat of all these companies. Their wellness programs are not really highly participated in. We've had conscious leadership, conscious management. We've done a lot of things, right? We have tens of thousands of books on happiness, yet we've never been so unhappy. We have thousands of coaches working on retention rates and burnout rates. They've never been worse, right? We're talking about continuously focusing on the leaves of a tree. If you cut a leaf off, a dozen more are going to grow back. The root of the issue is consciousness. More people start to understand that, they're going to want someone on staff who can help them with that root. It's not a massive collapsing. It's not shifting everything in the company. You're still going to have these positions. It's not a threat to anyone in the company. But what we're doing is we're taking everyone in the company from here to here. We're just expanding awareness. We're allowing them to see things as they are. We're giving them access to more solutions, a better way forward. So when the CEO creates strategy, he's going to have the full picture. When marketing starts doing better marketing and is more creative, they're going to have the full picture. When HR starts hiring different individuals, a different maybe level of consciousness, they're going to have the full picture. And also the ultimate thing about this position is they're neutral. You know anybody who's neutral?
Very few.
Yeah. So we don't talk about politics and religion within business, but if you're in the company long enough, you know where everyone stands. And you know, consciously or subconsciously, if Ed and Susie don't get along, it's probably because one's a Democrat, one's a Republican, or one's a Catholic, or one's an atheist. We've done this since the beginning of humanity. And we truly believe at some point in the future, our side that's making the world better and the other side that's ruining it is just going to go away. I mean, that's our rationale. Every time we choose a side, we're creating division and conflict on this planet. And everyone I speak with wants to leave the world better for their next generation, for their kids. But they're creating the same division that the other side is. So this position's bringing awareness to all of this. This position's bringing awareness to discussions that have never been had. But it is the absolute, positively the root of why business, the world, and this chaos that we're seeing around the globe is happening right now. It's all consciousness.
So I like you said from here to here. Tell me a little bit more in specifics, not generalities. You began to, and you said a person's one thing or another. And you said, I believe I'm one thing, you're the other thing. And somehow I believe I'm the right and you're wrong. And eventually you'll go away and I'll fix everything, is kind of what you said, whether it was
Mm-hmm.
black, white, Democrat, Republican, religion, whatever. Help me understand, or help the listeners understand, when you expand awareness, what is that? Like, I'm aware of more things. Yes. How does that begin to change the relationship of those two things that are today juxtaposed in a way that creates conflict?
So you remember the 4 minute mile? Back in the day, it was absolutely impossible for the human body to run 4 minute mile, right? I don't remember his name, Banner, something like that.
Roger Bannister, I think.
Correct. So he ran the 4 minute mile, and then thousands of other people did it after him. But just a day before, it was impossible. So when everyone's here, right, and they're focused and they're laser focused and their awareness is this very limited perception of the world, when you expand it, naturally there's less division and conflict because you're starting to say, I'm right, you're wrong. Well, that's a very limited perception. When you start to expand, you start to see the other sides. Oh my God, they're kind of similar to us. Huh. All the information they're coming from is exactly where I'm getting all my information. Their God is coming from the same place my God's coming from. My political views are coming from the same place they're coming from. Right? The ultimate question of division is this: what's better, heads or tails of the coin? Any logical person says, well, they're the same. Exactly. The ultimate question to expand awareness: where did the coin come from? Where did your religious views come from? Where did your political views come from? Right? This is something that no one discusses. No one's talking about consciousness. No one's talking about levels of consciousness. No one's talking about awareness. No one's talking about the division and conflict that is continuously getting worse on this planet when we've never had access to more information, more coaches, more consultants, more books. That should be the polar opposite of this, because we're dealing with the leaf of the tree, not the root. So when you're here in this very limited perception, you've got a very limited understanding of what's going on. And all you're seeing in front of you, let's say you're Republican, all you see is Fox News. That's all that's being crammed down your throat. Your parents were Republican. Their friends are Republican. You're just constantly reinforcing your beliefs. So obviously you're going to feel like you're right because you've never paid attention to the other side. When you expand this, you start to see the world from a different perception. You start to see the other side as more similar than you thought. This is just a natural occurrence. It's no different than an 11-year-old who believes in Santa Claus. As they get older, they expand their awareness. When they turn 12, they start to wonder if mom and dad are putting the Christmas presents under the tree. Then they turn 13 or 14, and then they realize that's what's happening, right? There's this natural evolution of humanity. That natural evolution that happens is consciousness. So until that becomes a center focus of business, of politics, of religion, of humanity, we'll continue to create division. We'll continue to create conflict, and we'll wonder what the problem is. And then we'll have another 10 experts writing the same books on a new management theory, new leadership theory, and it's going to be crammed down every company's throat like it's been the last 20 or 30 years. And it's gotten worse. It's absolutely gotten worse. There's no getting around it. That's just factual.
So the divisiveness and strife and polarization, I guess, is certainly feels worse and is worse now than it's been. More wars, more entrenched positions. And I like the description of leaves in a tree, and it's like medicine. You go to a doctor and you treat symptoms, and they give you this or that thing to treat symptoms. And, we're now starting to have the conversation about the whole body, the spirit, the body, all that stuff, and looking at things in a complete way that is the symptoms are directional in terms of pointing at something, but they're not usually the answer. Is that
correct?
That's the kind of thing you're
Correct.
talking about. Okay.
And the other thing, just for another great example, that's something that it is high on everyone's mind because it's such a big deal, is mental health. Right? It's a crisis, right? It's getting worse. To my point, these people have never had better access to better drugs, to better psychology, to better books, to better information, to better knowledge. Ever. We've never been more connected. We've never had better access. Yet the mental health crisis continues to get worse. we, and I was actually on a call yesterday with a bunch of individuals on a very, very intelligent person who's created a movement behind mental health crisis because he had his own breakdown a couple of years ago. And he's built up hundreds of ambassadors. And everyone on this call was building a fund to invest in mental health. Someone was one of the guys that was a big part of the FDA and didn't let a lot of the drugs through because of how harmful they were. Like, they were really incredible people. And when I would ask them, why is the mental health crisis getting worse with so much information, so many, we've never had more, everything we need to fix it? Their answers were about leafs. Well, social media. Well, the TV. Well, we're overwhelmed. Too many humans. Our diets. Everything. Leaves of a tree. When I brought up that the shift of consciousness is bringing up everything for the last 30 or 40 years that everyone's ever suppressed, didn't want to deal with, and ever lied to themselves, it was like just screaming over their heads like a deer in headlights. It absolutely did not make sense to them. But the root of the issue of mental health crisis of anything on this planet is consciousness. We're really good at lying to ourselves. We're really good at not dealing with what we need to deal with. We're really good at justifying certain things. If it's really tough on us, and I'm absolutely guilty of this as well, just suppress it. The shift of consciousness brings clarity. That clarity is not moons and rainbows and enlightenment that everyone talks about on the spiritual path. It brings up that, but it also brings up the shit you don't want to deal with. And it's no longer a death by 1,000 cuts. This shift of consciousness on this planet is so aggressive and so quick right now. Humanity's never experienced this. It's literally taking 8 billion people and making them deal with everything they've never wanted to deal with the last 2 or 3 decades. That's a lot all at once, which thus then leads to the mental health crisis. But they're always dealing with the leaf. That's all they know.
When you talk about, you say the shift of consciousness. So I'm going to agree with you completely for this piece of the conversation right here, and drill down in it so that it's clear to me and listeners. When you say the shift in consciousness that is happening, and some of it's sunshine and rainbows, but you said it's bringing up. So the shift in consciousness is an event or a process, something that's happening. And that thing that's happening is bringing up all of the things that we have avoided talking about. So there's 2 questions. One is, what is the thing that's happening that's bringing up stuff? And we'll talk about what it's bringing up in a minute. But what is this shift that is happening? Can you tell more about what that is?
So consciousness, levels of clarity, levels of consciousness. Let's say you're driving down the freeway of consciousness. The vast majority of this planet has a lot of grease on their windshield. So you're driving down and you see things, you see figures, you see darkness, you see light, you see this, you see that. You are 1,000% guessing what's on the other side, which shows you why Republicans and Democrats are at each other's throats when it's the identical thing. Why a Catholic and an atheist both believe they're just completely ignorant. You are guessing what's on the other side. That's why there's so much division and conflict. Because you grow as a kid and you were told by your parents, your family members, your teachers, if you grow up in Utah, you're going to be Mormon. If you grow up in Texas, you're going to be a Baptist. If you're Japanese, you're Buddhist. Like, it's just natural. That's just natural. That's how as consciousness shifts, the grease starts to get to removed from the windshield. And that thing that you thought was a tree, what's not a tree. That thing you thought was God, and maybe it's not God. Maybe it's just an animal. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. But you start to see things clearly. And all the things you were guessing, all the things you lied to yourself about, all the things you didn't want to deal with because it's grease on the windshield, you're like, I'll just push it aside. It'll be fine. That person that broke my heart, I'll be fine in a decade. It'll be fine. We store that. When the grease is removed, you get to see very clearly what you still have to deal with. You get to see very clearly what's on the other side of that windshield. You get to see very clearly the good and the not so good. And it's immediate. The grease was gradually coming out over the decades, right? Just like naturally, like an 11-year-old turning 12. 365 days later, you turn 12, then you turn 13, then you turn 14. We go from 5th to 6th to 7th, just natural. That didn't work out too well for humanity because look at the world we built. So the universe said, we're going to make this aggressive. We're going to force you guys. We're going to pull the grease from the windshield of 8 billion people. There you go. That's the world we see. That's the division. That's the conflict. That's the polarization. That's all the chaos happening in this world. There's not a coincidence that everything that's fallen apart in this world is happening right now. It's not because the media is paying more attention to it. It's not because we're more connected. It's not because it was happening in the past and now all of a sudden we know about it. No, the grease is getting removed from everyone's windshield, and everything they lied to themselves about, didn't want to deal with, suppressed, all came up quickly. Thus, the mental health crisis, the business, the burnout, the retention rate, the stress, the disengagement at work. Anything you want to talk about on this planet that's kind of falling apart in a sense, shifting, everything is consciousness. Everything physical and non-physical. It's not a game. It's not the game pieces that everyone's playing, the books and the experts and the scientific studies and the PhDs that are talking about leadership and this and this and this and conscious leadership and everything. Consciousness is the game board. If you don't understand the game board, you got grease on the windshield. You're just guessing. And if anyone wants to argue with me, just look at the world. Look at business. Look at the mental health crisis. We're not dealing with the game board.
Yes, let me ask a question with that. So that's a good example. So if we have, for however long, lived with the only inputs, boundaries, rules, and things we had are what we were exposed to, and that caused us to be very fuzzy, clear, grease on the windshield. We couldn't see things as they really are. Now with the removal, the more sudden removal of the barrier, the camouflage, the grease, we now see things as they really are. The confrontation for people is all, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, all of the things I thought were X are now actually Y and Z and a bunch of other things. So I thought stuff was this and I believed it, sometimes really strongly, and now everything's gone. And so now I clearly see it's like being in an optometrist's office and guessing at the third line or the fourth line, and suddenly it's close and you can see exactly what each letter is. And then all the things that I believed were a certain way are not. And the conflict is coming from my unwillingness or unpreparedness to deal with the fact that what I thought was an elephant was a horse, or what I thought was this is actually that. I now see clearly what things really are. And that's not a problem unless I'm either unprepared or unwilling to deal with the truth that is now being revealed to me because the grease is gone. Is that what you're saying?
Beautiful. And how many people do you know have an easy time with change? I don't.
Learning to not mind what happens is a learnable skill, but most people don't want to put the effort and the energy into it, and they'd rather fight with reality than accept what it is. Byron Katie has a saying, the only thing you ever struggle with is your own thinking, the dialogue yes. in your head, the change between what is and what you thought. Correct. So if the revelation of things as they really are is the thing that's happening, so I asked what's the thing that's happening, and the problems that it's bringing up is the level to which each person is unwilling to cope with, deal with, accept with, and ultimately take advantage of, in a good way, the truth that's being revealed. Oh, it's really that? I thought it was a pile of dirt. It's really a gold mine. Wow, I can do X. So that the thing that's happening is the clarity of things as they really are, and the problem is coming from the unwillingness of people to accept the truth and then live from that place.
Yeah. I mean, if you were told by everyone you looked up to, every person who loved you, every teacher, every college course, every church on Sunday, everything you were 100% believed in that you didn't even think about because you were so confident in the way it was, and then one day you started to doubt it, that's terrifying. It's and we can discuss, well, some people handle it better than others, but for most, if everything they thought they believed in very strongly, were willing to die for, all of a sudden they doubted, this is the world you see today. That's it.
That shift can be completely unnerving, disorienting, all that kind of stuff. So let's assume, like I said, we're going down the road assuming everything you're saying is exactly right. So the grease is off. I'm seeing things as they really are. The conflict, discord, even disease, physical disease in terms of
Yes,
internal
yes,
denial and everything else
yes.
is coming from my either inability or unwillingness, one of the two, or combination, inability or unwillingness to accept and understand the truth as it is. And I'm fighting to have it be what I thought it was. Okay. Talk to me a little bit about when you go into a company. Let's talk about a company first. And
Okay.
you're trying to increase retention rates or reduce absenteeism or turnover. And the thesis is all of this is happening because of unwillingness or inability to deal with things as they are. How do you start organizing leadership, CEO or manager, whatever it is? Where do you start? How do you start helping them realize what you've just said? The grease is gone. You're seeing what's real. All this problem that you're inventing and assigning to all these causes is actually your unwillingness or inability to deal with the truth. How do you start working with that?
Depends on the person. You usually start at the top, right? But this is going to be a position that's full time for all the employees. But you start at the top. You start finding out who they are, what they believe, what books they read, what side they vote on, what their religion is. I'm truly, it's got to be really personal things. You got to understand their weaknesses, their insecurities, their strengths, what they think the problem with the company is, why they think burnout is, why they think retention rate is. I need to know how they think, right? I need to understand that. I also need to understand when it comes to their beliefs, we start to have discussions like you and I are having. I'll simply say, okay, great. I heard all that. Tell me something really quickly. What's better, heads or tails of the coin? And I'm like, what relevance does that have to what I just told you? The retention rates are so bad. Tell me what's better, heads or tails of the coin? Well, they're the same. Okay. They're the same, right? So from what I get from you, Mr. CEO, Mrs. CEO, you're pretty Republican. Yes, I am. Okay. Your CFO that you're having an issue with, aren't they Democrat? Did I find that out? Yes, they are. Okay. You see any issues there? Because you two struggle continuously. You two battle continuously. Do you think it's because you want to move forward and because their finances, they're just holding you back? Or do you think there's a deeper thing there? Do you think no matter what that CFO brings to you, because of their views, because they hate Trump, because they do this, subconsciously, maybe you have an issue with being fully open to their solutions? What you're doing with every executive, once the executive starts to understand the neutrality that this position brings, there will not be enough time in the day for the superpower that they will bring to everyone in the organization, because the CEO, they don't need to stop being Republican. They don't even need to like the CFO. But what the CCO does is it brings the full picture. Mr. CEO, you want to look good to the board. You want to keep the company going. You want to reduce burnout. You want to increase retention rates. You right now are working with 50% of the picture. I don't care where you went to school. I don't care what your degree is. I don't care if the PhD, the 170 IQ means nothing. You are looking at 50% of the picture because you chose a side, just like everyone else did. No one in this company, including the coaches and the consultants you are hiring, who also chose a side, are giving you the full picture. I don't care what anyone says. If they did, this world would not look the way it looks. Plain and simple. This position gives you the full picture, Mr. CEO, Mr. HR, Mrs. CFO, Mrs. whoever. No company has ever had access to the full picture. They think they have. Again, they've got grease on the windshield and they think they know what's on the other side of the windshield. But if they truly did, would business look this way? Would disengagement be at 70, whatever percent it is? Would burnout be this way? Would retention be this way? Would business be so divided and conflicted? Would human beings be so sick and tired of working and capitalism and business and their executives and their bosses? Because the bullshit meter's through the roof right now. They're gaining clarity too to what's being said by an executive. Oh, I heard what you said. I know how you feel though. You see, this is a common theme. It's all wrapping up into one. So you just start to talk. You need to know what their weaknesses are, their strengths are, where they stand politically, where they're religiously. All the stuff that we thought we didn't want to talk about, that is at the crux of everything you do. Every position you stand, every decision you make, how you view an individual by the color of their skin, by if they're Republican or Democrat. Oh, no, we don't do that. DEI. Bullshit. Everyone does it. You can put a stamp on the wall of who you think you are. You can do DEI. You can do the wellness programs. You can hire meditation. You can do whatever you want. All I'm asking is, how does it look? because everyone's doing it. It's not working because we're cutting off a leaf of the tree. Get to the root. The root is consciousness. That's why this position is so crucial.
Okay, so let's again assume that's right. And you're having that conversation with the CEO, and they agree with you. Okay, I see that my positions, my formula, I call that a BD, beliefs, definitions, experiences, expectations, and perceptions. I call it a context straitjacket, but we're talking about the same thing. And then, your context is what it is, and your context straitjacket. All right. So I actually wrote a book about that. So anyway, let's say that you do that. You've been looking. You don't have to convince them anymore that they've been looking at half the picture. And they say, okay, can you describe at least one or two steps that you have them start doing or thinking to begin to see 51%, 52%? 60% of the picture. What has to happen?
No, because what we've done in the past is we do that and then we give a 10-step program and then we give them a practice and then we give them a modality, right? Just like the 4-minute mile. This is why this is so crucial. And this is why it's such a shift in a paradigm for the mind that's always divided. The same mind that creates a problem can't solve it. I always go back to the 4-minute mile. It's impossible. I've got the best coaches in the world. I've got the best diet in the world. I do all the sprints. I do everything. It's impossible. Oh, that guy over there ran it. No shit. Oh, I can run it now. There's no step. There's no process. It's just the mind. The mind's like, oh, it is possible. I guess I can run it. When you start to bring the simple awareness of here to here, you can't unsee it, you can't unlearn it, and you can't go back. You will not go back. You can lie to yourself, but that doesn't work anymore just by what we're seeing of the world. The 4-minute mile is possible. So, you have issues with the CFO because of their political views. They can't unhear that. Every time they go into a conversation now with that individual, they will look at them differently. They will act differently. They will make better decisions. They will be more open to it. It will be a natural thing. It's like, you know what? There's no metaphor needed for that. That's just the natural occurrence of it because you're letting them see, hear, and know something they did not know a second before. It never changes and never comes back again. And they just view everything differently. You're taking the grease off the windshield. There's no need for 10 steps. There's no need to meditate because all of that stuff has been tried. I'm a big believer in it. I had a very enlightened teacher. I did the meditation. I did the psychedelics. I did it all. If that's a whole other discussion. If they want to do that, it's worth it to them because that's where their awareness is pointing. But when it comes to the discussion you and I are having, how do we do this? Just by this. That's why it's so simple. I'm going to have a discussion that's going to bring something to your attention you didn't know, and you won't unknow it. It'll change everything you do with your wife, your spouse, your kids, your employees, everything.
So, all right. So then what you're saying is the crux of the matter is to bring to awareness of an individual, because individuals are the ones that need to shift. And it is the shifting of each individual that accomplishes this, that the way I have been looking at the world is limited. And it's not just saying that, it is limited because of these different things, the socialization and learnings that you have internalized.
Yes.
And simply realizing, gee, you have a set of lenses. They're the only ones you've had until now. There actually are other lenses, and you're free to take them off, is the learning.
Correct. And so this is exactly correct. And then if there's, coaches and consultants that don't like to hear that, they've been doing this already in a sense, but they too are divided. The difference between now and then is this position is neutral. This position talks to the executives and has the discussion you and I are having, not from a divided standpoint. This position is not for you or against you. It's not for Republicans or against them. It's not for Catholics or against them. No one in the company, no organization has ever had access to that type of space, to that level of clarity and that level of consciousness. No one. Absolutely no one. So the coaches and the consultants that have these $1 million companies and they're more intelligent than me and they got the degrees and on paper they're just perfect. They chose a side as well. And when you sit down with an executive and you can say you're objective and you can say you're neutral, and you can say you backed off, and you can say you brought something out of that individual, that executive. If you truly did, would business look the way it looked? No, because in the subtle realms that no one's paying attention to, you chose a side as well. You, too, Mr. Coaching Consultant, are cut off from 50% of the world. You may bring a little bit different perception to that executive that doesn't understand it, but you're not helping them expand awareness. You're not, because everything's energy. Even the most scientific, the most um, um, skeptical person, even in their own mind, out in the oh, it's all energy. I can feel good things. I feel love. I feel it's all of it. So you can say that you're helping the executive, but there's a reason why, after 30 years of conscious capitalism, we sit where we sit today. We have to get to the root. We have to have people on staff that are neutral and are not for or against any one side. That is what's been missing in business. It's the only thing we haven't done yet.
So I want to talk a little bit about your book. You wrote a book, you said, called Truth Has No Sides.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the name of it. So tell
Yes.
me what made you write that book. And if I go read it, or someone reads it, and I encourage them to investigate this, because the idea of taking off lenses, meaning you see, the way I interpret that is I see life the way I do because it's been my experience. And we don't even know we're wearing them because they're all we've ever known. And the idea that they exist and I can take them off is that kind of liberation, I guess, accompanied with the knowledge that everybody else has a pair of lenses and they're just as valid as mine. They're the only ones that there is, and everybody has them, and then it's all okay, right? So tell me about the book, how you wrote it, why you wrote it, and where we can find it.
Yeah, it's called Truth Has No Sides. It's on Amazon. I wrote it because of people who usually cross paths with my teacher leave the world behind.
Mm-hmm.
He strips everything away. He removes every piece of bias and conditioning you could possibly understand as a human. Everything you've learned, everything. So when you see through the veil so clearly, you're going to have a very hard time coming back into this world and playing this game that is just full of ignorance. That wasn't my karma in this life. I had a business background. I have a nonprofit background with Pay It Forward. I had my time with him. I thought that was an incredible combination of three things that I have yet to see in other individuals. And I enjoy business. I enjoy people. I enjoy helping things grow when it comes to that. And I saw invention, necessity is the mother of invention. So I thought to myself, why not bring this back into business? Why not bring this back into the world? I never understood division. I never understood why a Catholic and an atheist didn't agree. I never understood why a Republican and Democrat despised each other. I never understood that before I met my teacher. And then when I met my teacher, started to understand consciousness, started to understand that all the books he was having me read were not to feed me full of knowledge, but for me to understand that it's all coming from the same source. I saw that was the one thing missing in humanity. All these government officials, all these executives, all these intelligent people, all these powerful people, all choosing sides, all wanting the world to be better, all wanting things to be better for their kids. Every one of them ignorantly chasing, going down the same path that creates the same division that the other side that they despise is doing. No one was paying attention to that. No one was talking about consciousness. No one was talking about the heads and tails of the coin and wondering where the coin came from. So I thought to myself, this is a very unique perspective. Let's see how stupid I really am. Let's see if I'm full of shit. Let's see if this doesn't work. Let me see if I'm just seeing things so ignorantly that it's wrong. And I'm just, well, no, I'm not. So the book is about the time with my teacher, with Pay It Forward, going through the modalities, going through the meditations, doing the psychedelics, doing the hypnosis, talking to people who channel other beings, talking to stuff, seeing people who defy the laws of physics with my own eyes, watching someone levitate, watching someone be able to read me and know everything about this current life to a T who has never met me. You just start to expand. You see everything in this world's consciousness. You see why remote viewers, you see all the crazy theories in the world. And you're like, that all makes perfect sense. Everything makes perfect sense. It's all connected. There's nothing crazy about any movie, any sci-fi, any theory, any quantum entanglement, any of it, all coming from the same source, all of it. So this book is just about my journey, and people don't like the book because at the end of the book, I don't give directions. I just say, this is my experience. This is why there's so much division and conflict in the world. You're a part of it. So am I. Go explore. There's no 10-step program. There's no forcing them to meditate. There's no forcing them that their world's going to change if they do psychedelics. Because I've seen thousands of these people. Meditation works for some it doesn't. Psychedelics are a massive thing right now. They do incredible things for a lot of people. They also hurt a lot of people. There's no clear-cut way to get up the mountain. There's 8 billion people. There's 8 billion different paths. And people make the biggest mistake by following someone else. The way up the mountain for you is going to be different than it is for me and for all of your listeners. Someone had to bring that to everyone's attention. Someone had to say, listen, if you don't want to do this, that's being forced upon you at work, or you don't think meditation brings up too much, or psychedelic scares the shit out of you, don't do it. If someone continuously tells you money doesn't buy happiness, but it will for you, go find money. If you think that relationship is what you need to fulfill yourself in this world, but there's people around you saying it won't fill the hole in your heart, bullshit. It may for you in this life. I don't like this continuously everyone coming out having an awakening experience, and then all of a sudden they think they know what's going on. They don't, because they're starting to deal with the leaf of a tree. If I'm a meditation teacher, I'm going to tell the whole world to meditate. That may not be the case. If I'm an Akashic record reader, I'm going to tell everyone they need to do a reading. If I'm a psychedelic shaman, I'm going to tell everyone needs to do psychedelics, and without it, the world's never going to get anywhere. Leaves of a tree. Just another experience. Every experience is coming from the same level. It's coming from the same source. It's coming from the same consciousness, which even the most skeptical scientific neurologists, even the people who thought the brain was creating consciousness, are starting to see it's fundamental to our reality. If we keep dealing with the leaves of the tree, we're just going to cut one off. We're going to get a dozen growing back, and the world's going to get worse. Get to the root of the issue. And there's a lot of discussions in that book where I'm talking to, individuals of here in Utah. I'm like, oh, you're Republican, huh? And it's just going back and forth with the Democrat, Republican, the Catholic, the atheist, just kind of bringing awareness to the division we create with the very heart-centered decisions we make, with the very heart-centered people who love us, because all they know is what their parents taught them, and bum, 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 bum. So they're going to tell you what they know.
So when you get done,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask. So I get that, and I get exactly why someone has a set of experiences that work for them, and then they think that path or set of experiences is, quote, the answer. And so they share it like it is the answer, instead of like, this is what I did.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what I did, and here was the outcome, and it's information as opposed to direction.
Yes. So
when you say companies need to have a neutral, and I will say companies, anyone in any situation needs to learn that they can take off the lenses, that they have them first. They're free to take them off. Everybody else's lenses are as good as theirs. And there are 8 billion paths up the mountain. What would you say then if someone wants to, maybe there isn't even a point to this question, but if someone wants to learn more about what your experience was without it being prescriptive, or someone is interested in exploring the idea of having this neutral person without a built-in context guiding them or their company in some way, where would they go to do that? What should they do, if there is a should and if there is a do, in order to move forward with the ideas stirred up by this conversation?
They can just, I like people to connect with me on LinkedIn, because the conversation of what this position is, what it's not, people that have questions about it, just the conversation of how this would help the company, how it helps an individual, how it helps an athlete, how it helps whatever. I like to get them to LinkedIn. So there are companies that are looking to hire full-time CCOs, but there's also individuals that are looking to do like a 30-day program. Let's see what you do in 30 days. And then there's also individuals that just want some consciousness training, and we'll just train them. We'll help them understand their biases and conditioning, their blind spots, and then help them understand what neutrality really means. Help them understand the heads and tails of it. Help them understand the questions you and I are having. Because just like my teacher, 90% of the questions I did ask, and you said something really great 2 minutes ago, it may not be relevant. 90% of the questions I asked my teacher, which I thought were so intelligent, were going to help me evolve, he ignored. I would say something, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to think I'm so smart. And he'd be like, there was this one time my dog was in the backyard and he almost got a squirrel. And I'm like, what's the relevance to the question I just asked? He's like, oh, there is none. You want to go get some lunch? Because if our mind, the same mind that creates the problem, cannot solve it, if I'm asking that question, which I think is so intelligent, just like all these experts and these books and these authors talking about, if they're coming from here, it is the same mind that created the problem. Can't fix it. If we stay here and they keep getting the same questions and the same answers, as Einstein said, not only are we going to get the same results, you see the world, it's getting worse. The relevance of how people are going about business and asking questions and writing books and trying to create different systems for leadership, including conscious capitalism, it's at the same level that created it. We're just rearranging the furniture in a burning house. We have to go deeper. We have to go to the source. We have to understand the irrelevance of most of what was created the issue. We got to shift that.
So how do they connect with you on LinkedIn? If you've invited people to connect with you and have conversations on LinkedIn to find more about that, either for a company or for the individuals, how would they do that? Are they just...
I'll give you a link for the show notes, or they can look me up under my name, Charley Johnson, or they can look up Chief Consciousness Officer. That's in my bio. So that'll pull all of them up.
Okay, good. So is there something that we didn't talk about, that we didn't dive into, that is going to wrap this or sum it up for people in a way that will leave them with something to think about or not to think about? Something to do or not to do, to begin to explore, the elimination of a context straitjacket.
No, the only thing is, most would agree, the world's pretty chaotic. It's getting more divided and conflicted. That includes business. So everything we've tried, everything we are currently trying, is actually making things worse. They've probably never heard of a chief consciousness officer. They probably have no one on their staff that's neutral, and they probably have no one on their staff that has a discussion like you and I just had and had the answers to the questions they've ever had. So if you've tried everything else, what do you have to lose? Truly, just hire me for 30 days. Let's see what happens in the conversations I have as an individual, maybe as your executive team, maybe for your company. You have nothing to lose. It's getting worse. You haven't tried this. This is a brand new position we're pioneering. I know companies, thousands of them, are going to start hiring for this very soon. It won't take 5 or 10 years like everything else. It's going to be soon. So why not jump ahead in the curve? Truly, 30 days. And then on day 31, if you think I'm a complete idiot and nothing's happened, don't renegotiate. Don't rehire me. Just say you're an idiot and move on. I don't care. But you've tried everything else. You have all the experts. You have all the consultants. You have millions of dollars. You work on wellness programs and bringing all these people in. Still not working. Try something that you think is crazy. Try something that you may not really understand, because what resonates to you right now is what's comfortable, and what's comfortable is creating the issue. Try something different.
Well, Charley, thank you for being with me today, and thank you for sharing this. I really appreciate the thoughts that you've given, and certainly understand I use different language, but I have talked with people a lot about a context straitjacket, which limits them to the limit of what they've understood. I even wrote a book called The Book of Context, which was all about that. Anyway, thanks for being with me today.
Thank you for allowing this conversation to be heard, man.
You bet. I would invite you listeners to listen again and understand that there's a real point to be made about dealing with symptoms versus causes, leaves versus roots, and understanding also that we really can't solve a problem at the level that it was created.
No.
Think deeply about these kinds of things so you have the power to make the changes, delete the unnecessary, and move forward to create your ultimate life.
Never hold back and you'll never ask why. Open your heart and this time around.
Right here, right now. You're opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to KellenFlukigerMedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, YourUltimateLife.ca. Subscribe, share.
Stand with your heart in the sky.